Greetings everyone, I am Lunar Kitten Zero, and we are back watching every single Warhammer faction re-explained Part 2 by Bricky. I have learned so much already, and I am looking forward to learning a lot more. You guys have been filling my comments with so much information, and I appreciate it. Thank you to the people who were explaining why Logar was running from the bird. I'm still going to giggle about it. Also, to the people defending Horus, I get you. I completely understand where Horus is coming from. I'm still going to pick on Horus. My blood angel side demands it. Uh, Also, to the people having discussions with me about the Big E. Yeah, I think we've come to an agreement. Not a good dad. And he really doesn't get the human emotions. He's far too logical. And that bit him in the butt, which makes for good storytelling, as we all agreed. But I'm not going to talk too much because I want to get right into this and learn about the dark mechanicum. And if they're anything like the other guys, this is going to be really, really interesting. And as you guys probably noticed, and I haven't pointed it out yet, so I might as well now, um, Sanguinius is taking a nap, and Conrad decided to perch on my head today. So, yes, he is joining us for today's video, and we're going to get right into it.
The ruinous powers claimed during the Horus Heresy extended beyond just the Space Marines and the Primarchs. Mars itself was subject to a revolution that saw half of them fall to chaos as well. And some of the once loyal knight houses saw themselves swearing fealty to the dark gods. The falling of these factions allows for the war machine of chaos to continue uninterrupted and to have firepower equal to that of the Imperium itself. The dark mechanicum, as the name suggests, is the...
Okay, hold on. I have to talk about that picture. That is cool. I don't know what it is about cloth over mechanical armor that I just really like. But there's just something about it that just makes part of my brain very happy. It's probably why I like No Man's Sky, one that you unlock that has a bit of a robe. I kind of dig it. It leans back to the medieval, but it also keeps that sci-fi. I don't know. The blending of the two is great. And the colors here, you know, very simple, but that bold use of orange, I love it. And yes, I said orange wrong. To those who are listening to me speak, I slur words. I say words very incorrectly. And sometimes I pronounce things very oddly. It's either my accent or just, I'm a cat girl who speaks human poorly. Just letting you guys know, when you hear me say words really messed up, that's why. But, I'm looking forward to this already. Just looking at this picture has got me excited. It's just so cool, and it's ripped, and it looks like it's, like it's not exactly tattered, but he's been clearly wearing it until it's wore down. Okay, I'm into this.
Chaos-affiliated branch of the Mechanicus, and have a lot more free reign, much like the freedoms of the Chaos Space Marines. The seeds of the Dark Mechanicum were planted fairly early, due to some of the Mechanicum not really seeing the Emperor as the Omnissiah immediately, and Horus exploited this to allow the schism to happen a bit more naturally. Unlike their Imperial brothers, the Dark Mechanicum have the ability to invent and innovate. What a concept. While also utilizing forbidden technologies such as the Silica Animus or AI.
Okay, whoa. So, these guys go against the Mechanicum's teaching of pretty much we can't make it unless we find the tech already existing from the age of, technology. Or I forgot what you guys called them. STCs, I think. I might get that wrong. So they want to do what I keep saying, which is you need to invent and create and innovate if you want to defeat your enemy, because your enemy isn't going to play fair. They're not going to respect your religion. They're going to do the thing that you're not doing, which is just how war is. I'm a little torn now because it's like, oh, you guys are following the dark gods, the chaos gods here. And I'm not sure that's exactly the path you want to go down, but at the same time, I'm over here going, okay, at least somebody's making something. So, yeah, that's a tricky one. I mean, I'm sure that they get based on the Chaos Marines. I'm sure their armor is going to get twisted, and their mechanical bodies are going to get twisted into their deity gods stuff too, which I'm actually looking forward to. I kind of want to see this mesh of machine and twisted god appearance. I look forward to that stuff. It's just so cool.
Dark Mechanicum do have their own desires to find lost technologies and put them to use, but they're more interested in taking ancient and forbidden technology from Imperial worlds and activating them for their own purposes. Because what good is a bunch of knob and tube wiring if you don't overload it with as many extension cords as possible? However,
Well,
instead
yeah,
of being
okay.
clear-cut and more generalized creations, the inventions of the Dark Mechanicum are inherently tied with the warp and its demons. Genetic experimentation and modification, the fusion of man and machine are exceptionally common, and no creation is more reflective of this than the demon engines. Instead of
Oh.
regular tanks and vehicles,
Oh,
the
wow.
demon engines are machines bound with the presence of demons to make them living war machines. Unlike the
Okay, so they made demonic tanks, pretty much. Or not even tanks, they're like giant mechanical robot Gundam kind of thing. My brain always wants to default to Gundam. Um, I'm also distracted by this because I'm like, that is really cool, but at the same time, I'm like, robot lobster or crab. And I'm just like, robot crab. To be honest, that's probably a really smart design in some ways if you look at it. But oh, this is gonna be wild, especially the monster looking guys down there. See, this is what I was expecting, is that cross between the god and the machine. And the creativity of these designs. Yep, yep, I love it. And immediately when I say creativity of design, I can't help but my brain wanted to immediately just slowly turn and look over at Pokemon and go, you know, that thing you guys kind of lost over time? A couple of those generations. But we'll continue.
vehicles of the Imperium, where a Mechanicus priest may be there to aid in its repair. A Warpsmith sorcerer is there
Oh.
to essentially repair and irritate the demon engine so that it can be a more effective killing machine. In
Irritate
certain
it?
factions, like the bitter and siege-loving Iron Warriors, they will lure demons with the promise of glory and easy bloodletting, only to then forcibly trap them into these demonic engines to use as weapons of war against the Imperium.
Oh, wait, whoa. I didn't think I don't think I was fully understanding this until now. So they they baited demons to get trapped to become their war machines, like capture, tame, work animals. Like if you caught a wolf and tamed it to fight alongside you. I mean, it's still wolf, it's still wild animal, but now it's working for you. Very simplistic analogy, but basically that's what they did with the demons. Holy crap. First of all, that's really clever, and I didn't even think to try that. I just thought kill demons. That might be just the doom thought in my brain, which is rip and tear until it's done. But so I mean, that's a good way to make use of your enemy. Turn your enemy into your machine against your other enemies. Okay, I'm starting to like the machines. They're really clever, and their stuff is really cool. Though I gotta imagine there's just gotta be that one demon that got caught and put into a machine to work, just thinking, I can't believe I fell for this. Like, oldest trick in the book, and I fell for it. Like, mechanicums over there, with the sign that says, um, you know, free souls in here, like, get in the thing, and they're all like, yay, and they just dive into it. It's like free candy, but it's free souls, and they're just, woohoo! they jumped into it. I'm sure they got baited in much more interesting ways. I just like my amused way of thinking of how that might have happened.
Some lesser gods, like Vashtor the Archifane, is also a contract and arms dealer for the demonic stuff that comes out of chaos. Many demons may sign a pact with Vashtor in the soul forges of the warp, and in doing so are given the weapons of war to kill as much as they can. Should they do so, excellent, you may keep it. Should you not, I hope you enjoy your soul working in the forges for all eternity. That's what you signed with blood and oil. In addition, much like their ties in the Oil's realm, the Dark Mechanicum and the Chaos Knight houses are deeply intertwined. There were, of course, many knight houses that swore fealty and bent the knee to War Master Horus during the heresy, but a good portion of them had no choice, as they were absorbed by warp storms and corrupted into compliance. Many of these Chaos Knights reflect the very early Dark Age technology knights with more corrupted weapons. The Throne Mechanicum, which once had a noble sitting and taking control of generations of previous drivers and taming a beast, is now a saddle to a monstrosity of wrath and hatred. The nobles of the Chaos Knights fight to aggravate and bring the machine to their will while combating the corrupted minds of their fallen ancestors. Some of these nobles may do such a good job that they themselves fuse into the throne itself and become one with the knight.
Okay, so some of the knights, they corrupted and they became, oh wow. See, I didn't think about those. I was just thinking the little robot guys. I didn't think about the giant knights. And I was wondering about whether or not they would fuse with the chair. So, I mean, that I know a lot of you have been answering in the comments about how that works and the knights. I'm still a little fuzzy on the knights, but what I do understand, they didn't have a choice and they're fighting against corrupted ancestors. That's wild. It's like you got a moral compass. You sit down, your ancestors like, let's do crimes. No, ancestor, I want to be noble. I want to be good. Now we're gonna do crimes. Let's go. Get in the car. We're going out and doing murder. Woo! But it's just this is interesting, and I did not think about everything that the Mechanicum repairs and takes care of. I don't know why I completely forgot the knights. Oh, okay. This is gonna be. Oh, I just love that skull face too on this knight. It's really good.
Noble dies, no worries at all. Unlike the Imperial ones that require a pilot, a demon can hop into the cockpit and control it instead. The Night Worlds also see full corruption as well. Where there were once peasants, there are now cultists, and the goal of the Chaos Knights are just as chaotic as the gods they follow. Some are sent to war by the ruinous powers. Others may protect Dark Mechanicum Forge worlds, and others still may be so hyped up on the ruinous powers that they are just aimless and reckless, hoping to unravel the fabric of the universe itself. Though the aspect of nobility is still there with the Chaos Knight, but it's hardly the same as it is on the Imperial side. As opposed to a beautiful knightly stallion, the knights here are horrifying and unpredictable monstrosities, fueled in part by the agony of the memories of the ancestors trapped within. An invasion by a house of Chaos Knights is a horrifying thing. One might ask, how do knights enter the battlefield? Normally, they can be deployed via dropships, the standard way. But Imperial Knights can be deployed with a drop keep, a gigantic knight keep with like towers and stuff.
Holy crap.
Hurtle towards the surface like a drop pod and be slammed into the ground with an excessively thunderous crash. Then, massive drawbridges slam down, banners unfurl, and huge horns play the song of their people as these lumbering robots charge out of their, again, drop keep to fight for the Imperium.
Holy crap. That is cool. I mean, at first I was thinking it's kind of like a Fortnite, but no, it's not like a Fortnite bus. Because the bus just flies over. that is wild. You drop an entire castle down and is like, boom, we're here. There's actually a game on Steam. I cannot remember the name currently, where it's a bullet hell defense thing where you actually have this castle that's moving across the land, and you get on certain turns to go gather resources, build up the castle and the defenses, and it is a mobile fortress that goes across the land, and you have to like repel enemies. Very cool. Should have bought the game. Maybe then I would have remembered the name. But I saw it recently and I thought, oh, that's something I might want to get one day. And now I can't remember the game. But it sounds sort of like that, except I don't know if these things move once they hit the ground. Doesn't sound like it. But dude, that's an entrance. I mean, I'll give it to Warhammer. When the Marines and even the Chaos side, when people want to make an entrance, they make an entrance. They let you know they are there. Dropping from space a fortress and then slamming open your drawbridge, letting out these gigantic, insane looking, corrupted looking knights that are most likely piloted by demons while there is trumpets blasting, all medieval style, is wild. And has to be like, if you weren't used to that, like say it was our world and we saw something like that, we would be stun locked for a few seconds of like, what am I looking at? Like, how am I supposed to fight this? I'm sure there has to be a couple worlds they hit that just was like, what the? Screw it, I surrender. I don't even know what it is, but I surrender. Though that probably will be a bad thing considering who they serve. So, I don't think surrender would be good. I would go probably out fighting because I don't want to end up, whatever they're going to use me for will not be pleasant. Rather go out swinging. But, oh, wow. I think this just made me so happy hearing about this. I'm like mind blown, but I'm just loving the visual imagery in my head that this creates. A drop castle, fortress, fort, whatever you want to call it. That's wild, so imaginative, and I love it.
So imagine what a warp-fueled version of this could look like.
Oh, that was a regular, so warp.
If you get the opportunity, you should kill yourself.
Chaos Knights have
See, they even said it there, but let's be honest, you do not want to do that because, well, I mean, I guess if you off yourself, then you might be all right. Might. I mean, I don't understand the soul thing, so it could be I'd rather just go out swinging just to make doubly sure. And now I'm trying to 15 signs sure a yogurt. Super rare. Is it better than, I'm sure there's a joke here that I'm not getting. And I'm positive somebody's gonna leave me a comment and explain this meme picture because I'm not getting it.
Such a presence, the warp fluctuates in their tread. They bring doom, dread, and despair across the battlefield. Warp storms occur overhead, and psychic phenomenon cling to them. A Chaos Knight will arrive either in some warp-debased platform, or perhaps a portal itself, or climb out of a pool of blood. As the air gets heavy, the enemy feels a crippling sense of paranoia, and the sky begins to rain blood, acid, and God knows what else. The horrors of the warp have resulted in a dramatic change in technology in the favor of their forces. Though in practice, it is a horror beyond comprehension, their baseline desires don't seem that radical on paper. They are creative builders, working to innovate and
Creative
improve
builders,
technology
yes.
while utilizing anything they can to accomplish their STEM goals. Looking at the dark forces of chaos and the Emperor now on his golden throne, humanity is fractured. The Emperor himself is the guiding light for warp travel for humanity and in being that exists as a beacon for the entire species. Without him, things would get somehow worse.
Okay.
Therefore,
I have to pause this. Without him, things could somehow turn out worse. There was a person, forgive me, I see so many comments, I cannot always remember people's names, but I do know I was having a discussion with somebody in comments, and they said one of the popular theories about the Big E is that he saw possible futures and that this was like the lesser of the two evils of futures, which kind of reminded me of that part where Doctor Strange was seeing all the futures and he only saw one, which was the one chance they had to stop Thanos. So that's how I'm interpreting this, which is there is possible directions humanity can go, and as messed up and as bad as this is, it's actually a beautiful walk in the meadow compared to what it could really be. And think about how messed up that is, that you're willing to be this corpse on a throne with, according to some of you guys who've responded, it's like being in a permanent coma. There's parts of him maybe still there, like what makes the Emperor is still technically there. It's not just a body. He chose that over whatever else was a possibility, which means it's beyond comprehension, beyond imagination. That when you're willing to be this versus whatever it is, you know it's got to be scary. And it's kind of fun to sit here and theory craft what could be worse than this. But if there's anything about the universe, let alone just humans in general, when we think we've reached the edge of what is horrific, we find a whole new direction to go. And that's kind of, I think, how the Eldar ended up where they did. It's like, hey, we found the edge of, pain and suffering and murder. And it's like, no, we can go farther. And it sounds like there are just things beyond comprehension that this route was just way better choice in the end. Let's not go down the really, really scary path. Let's just take it looks really messed up and really bad, but trust me, bro, it's way better. And the fact that the Emperor saw this as the better choice, that tells you a lot too. Because to me, he's highly logical. So he's not basing this on, I'm just scared, emotional. He's logical. So it would be like, if I go down this path, humanity has a 50% chance of surviving. If I go down this path, humanity has a 30% chance. 50% chance makes us look like we're evil incarnate. 30% chance nobody's going to know us because we're probably going to be wiped out. So, logically speaking, I can see it. Emotionally speaking, we're all going to just, if you're the do-gooder, you're just going to try to save as many as you can, and you won't always make those really tough, bad, dark decisions that somebody who's super logical and also, let's be honest, a bit of a tyrant is going to make. I said a bit of a tyrant. I'm totally not going against the Emperor. You cannot call heresy on me. Yet. But we're going to continue.
He needs his protectors. Where a Thunder Warrior wasn't enough for his armies, and half of his Space Marines turned traitor, the Emperor's personal bodyguards are something else entirely.
Okay.
They are not the fallible Astartes, nor are they a nightmarish concoction of organs and indoctrination. They are built and gene-crafted, with science bordering on magic. They number 10,000 strong, and each of them is a hero. They are the Emperor.
Oh, the Custodes! I've heard of them before. I've heard the name.
Rare is the battle where an Emperor's custodians outnumber our foes. We are ever beset, surrounded upon all sides by heresy and foulness, just as is Terra itself. Yet, like the throne world, we stand resolute, indefatigable, indomitable. Let the enemy come. Let them darken the horizon with their numbers. Still, we will prevail. Though the Emperor sits rotting on the golden throne, his talons remain sharp. The talons of the Emperor was the name given to the most elite forces at his disposal. The left hand of his talons comes in the form of the Sisters of Silence, psychic blanks that scour the galaxy to claim souls, to fuel the Astronomicon in the form of the Great Tide.
Just want to comment on this picture. You know, normally I don't like that type of hairstyle, but I like the long ponytail, so it means technically she could have long hair. And also, video games, Hollywood, bring back armor like this. You know, it curves for the girl's chest, but it's still kind of a corset thing. And then we get the shoulder pads going. This is fine. I can tolerate armor like this in games. It doesn't always have to be like bulky guy armor that you're, because, you know, God forbid I want my gold bikini. I want my gold bikini. Bring back the chainmail bikini to video games. Seriously, stop making me be all completely covered up. That's a rant for another time. But no, I actually really find this picture interesting. I don't know what they're representing. I know that there's supposed to be girls in the Imperium forces, like the foot soldiers, and I know there's nuns with guns, but I assume there's other girls in armor. I think there's Game Workshop just recently tried to add girls to another group. It might have been the Custodes. If they did, why? Just leave them the way they are. Just make a new group. Don't shoehorn chicks into everything. Just saying. Another rant for another day again. But I'm a sucker for a good corset. Or is this bustier? I'm pretty sure it's a corset. Either way, gold armor. Fits like a glove, so to speak. And again, I'm not a fan of a bald head, but with the single ponytail. But in this case, I kind of find it interesting. Though the tattoo of the two-headed eagle. Interesting choice. I guess with all that real estate up there, you might as well just start tattooing. But it's just okay. Very interesting.
1,000 psychers sacrificed daily to keep the Emperor of Mankind alive, dragged into the black ships of the Silent Sisterhood. The right hand of the Emperor's protectorate, his golden bodyguards that serve him and only him. These are the Custodians. While the members of the Space Marines went out to take back the galaxy, the Legio Custodes stood back and kept a close watch over the Emperor himself. The Custodes are, in a sense, similar to Space Marines in that they are genetically modified super soldiers clad in power armor, but that is where the similarities stop. Their genetic makeup seems to be made from the Emperor himself, or at least something quite close. And the precision of their creation predates the development of the Space Marines and even the Primarchs. Unlike Space Marine recruitment, where there's a process undertaken when a subject is at least somewhat grown, a Custodian's process begins at infancy. The methods in which they are made are a secret. But what is known is that at the very beginning, each Custodian was made by the Emperor himself. Regardless of the bioalchemical process, the process is exceptionally long and grueling, and only a handful of selected aspirants make it to the end. Those that do are clad in the most regal and effective armor in the Imperium. Commonly, a Custodian is seen carrying a Guardian Spear, an utterly yoked up version of the staves the Praetorian Guards of the Emperor in Star Wars had. They are also clad with specific shields and blades, but the most interesting thing with all of their gear is that due to the meticulous and dedicated maintenance and preservation of their armor and gear, these items are the same ones they used 10,000 years ago.
Okay, so I have so many thoughts here. One, That's some old, really good in-shape armor. And shiny too. Just kind of made me think Blood Angels because gold, shiny, and I'm just like, ooh, shiny. And again, I'm not a gold fan. I just like shiny. It's my weird self side, just ooh, pretty. But the other thought I had was I think I was right. That the way some of these things are made is very, very. The only franchise I can relate to is The Witcher. Because what I learned from The Witcher is that to make Witchers, they use guys because guys are built stronger. And I'm assuming the Custodes is the same way. Um, they used guys because they could survive the process, and the process was long, painful, very few survived. And if you did, you came out a Witcher. So here it sounds like you survive, you come out a Custode, they give you some really nice. It's like, best way to explain it is you're on a hardcore play in WoW and somebody power leveled you, and if you make it to the end, they give you the best armor in the game. And if you don't, well, that was the end of your hard run. Game over. So these are the Emperor's bodyguards, from how I'm understanding it. They're supposed to be the best of the best. Now, he hasn't explained it yet, and I'm very curious why he's leaning towards the magic. He's like, it's basically magic, I think. And I'm assuming, based on the picture behind him right now, that glow coming off the weapons might be, well, one is, it might be a gun. Maybe they're firing a weapon. Or is that a laser? Or is that some type of science that borderlines on magic? Or basically so sciencey it is magic. Either way, I'm not as like into the Custodes as much as I am like, you know, the Blood Angels or the other ones, but I do find how they function interesting so far. That how they are made and that their armor is so advanced and well maintained that it is 10,000 years old. That the time frames in this is teaching me on whole. I'm feeling like I'm a human learning from a dragon on how to comprehend time. Because to a dragon, 10,000 years is like, what, a day? I'm a human going, holy crap, 10,000 years. So Warhammer's definitely blowing my mind with the amount of time, which explains so well why things are the way they are, because it's just been that long, and it's been that way for so long that no one knows any other life than this. And it makes so much sense.
The Custodians do not age biologically, so
Oh.
some of the veterans in the Guard may be several thousand years old. And unlike the Space Marines, they fight entirely as a solo force. When a line of Custodians is holding back waves of enemies, they operate independently. There are no battle formations, there are no squad tactics. Each Custodian is the main character, trailed by serfs and servitors, tasked entirely to reload their weapons. They fight with a singular purpose, if not action. Groups of Custodians will dispatch enemy after enemy, their spears coming within inches of each other, but never close enough for a killing blow. Their strikes are intentionally defensive, allowing their opponents to attack 1 to 2 times before parrying and ending their lives. Each strike deflected is an opportunity to know their enemy more and learn from their patterns. They are truly the Emperor's bodyguards, masters of close combat, enemy knowledge, and reactions measured in milliseconds.
Wow.
Though the Custodians are a part of the Adeptus Terra, the members of the Guard only answer to their own leadership and the Emperor himself. The leader of the Custodes is known as the Captain General, and individual squads of Custodians are overseen by a shield captain. As their focus is on the Emperor, their command center is located within the Imperial Palace. The Tower of Hegemon serves as their primary base of operations, but there is a dedicated elite guard of Custodians known as the Companions that stands 300 strong by the Emperor's side. In total, The Custodes are 10,000 strong, and when a member retires, their name is added to the Hall of Name and vanish across the galaxy in a cloaked disguise to serve as eyes and ears for the Imperium. Despite
Okay, wait. So, first of all, that's the first time I heard about the Imperium Palace. I hope to learn more about where, because I didn't think about that. Where is the Gold Throne at? Like, is it on a planet? Is it on a ship? I'm gonna assume a planet. And I'm betting that is must be the most guarded planet. Because if the Emperor's there, and this is like the center stone of your culture, you don't want nothing to happen to it. Yeah, I didn't think about where the Emperor's actually set at. And oh, okay, so when they retire, they become the eyes and ears, basically spies for the Emperor, for the Empire. So they never stop working, even when they're in retirement. Huh. And they can be thousands of years old. So they can literally be the old guy telling you to get off their lawn, and if you don't, they could just be like, guess who's getting reported to the Emperor? I told you to get off my lawn, sonny boy. But, probably not, but, you know, never know. But, this is making me now think beyond, the Custody stuff here is now making me think more about things I hadn't really put much thought into before, and I kind of took a little bit for granted, which is, yeah, okay, it's the Emperor sitting on a gold throne. Where is he sitting on a gold throne? Again, is it on a planet? Is it on a ship? I'm leaning towards planet. And that this is a very, very, very guarded planet. So, I know you guys already get your fingers are twitching. Go ahead, start writing those comments. Let me know, because I'm curious. And I like finding out more, especially, I'm assuming this has got to be a layered city of some sort. Like, the amount of defense just to get to the core of where he's at has got to be so insane. But it's got to be totally awesome too. Because I can imagine just the amount of traps and defenses and crazy stuff they put in the way to make sure nothing happens to the what's left of the Emperor.
their numbers and their strength, the members of the Custodes do not consider themselves to be soldiers or warriors in any way. They see themselves strictly as the guardians of the Emperor in all facets of his presence. This extends beyond the physical. Custodians believe they represent the guarding of the Emperor's ideals and philosophies too. Their gains are both physical and literary. They are the protectorates of everything the Emperor stood for, and in doing so, the Custodians are also artisans and scholars, in addition to being the golden guard of the Golden Throne. However, due to this nature of being protectorates, they have a very strong view when it comes to the Space Marines and the Primarchs. The Emperor himself had insinuated many times that once the galaxy was brought to heel, that there would be no need for the Space Marines anymore, and they were to go the same way that the Thunder Warriors went before them. The Custodes were meant to be the judge, jury, and executioner of this will, and are biologically designed not only to be able to take down a Space Marine with ease, but to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Primarch as well. During the heresy, the Custodians mused on how suspiciously easy it was to kill Chaos Space Marines, as if they were trained and made for that explicit purpose. Constantine Valdor, one of the closest advisors of the Emperor, was asked if he ever disagreed with Big E on something, and he said once, with the formation of the Primarchs.
I feel I do my best, but they don't.
Let me ask you a very fair question. What do you do successfully? Quickly.
I hate think that every time we're in Untucked, the conversations are about me.
And besides the trained distrust for Space Marines, the Custodians also have evidence for their distrust.
Oh.
The Horus Heresy saw half of the chapters fall to chaos and turn traitor against the Emperor. In the mind of a Custodian, the fact that half of the Space Marines fell before means that the other half can fall with ease. They are
Okay. Okay. So I'm now I understand. Now I understand why some people, when you say Custodes, they kind of go into the rage mode. And they're like, Custodes, yeah, yeah, screw them, don't like them. And I think I see why. But now my question is, and I'm wondering if it's happened, is it's not like the Custodes are perfect, right? I mean, if half of the Primarchs and their groups turn to chaos, there's nothing that says a Custodian cannot be corrupted. If I'm learning anything really well from Warhammer, it's that nothing is guaranteed and everything is subject to the corruption of chaos given enough time or an opportunity. That is at least what I'm starting to see. And the fact that some have lasted as long as they have without ever giving in to those forces actually should be commended. Because at the rate things are going, that's pretty strong willpower there to do that. Because I'm pretty sure these gods have gotten extremely powerful from the amount of wars and fighting, and that was even before humanity got in on the whole fight kill thing. So I mean, I get the Custodes' ego. They were made as a, okay, Dad's done with his tools, time to get rid of them. Take them to the junkyard and get rid of them. Oh, yeller it. You done well, but you gotta go. Except they don't have any respect for it, and the one guy does not agree with the creation of the Primarchs. I doubt it was because he was like, hey, people have human emotions, and if you don't treat them like your kids and are good to them, we're gonna have problems. It was more or less, you're making a bunch of superpowered U's, people like you, and they're gonna be they're super powerful. And that's just going to be a force we're going to have to deal with, aka I don't want to deal with this. Why you make me deal with it? At least that's kind of the feel I'm getting. It was not purely because of the kindness of the heart. It was more or less, you're making a problem and a mess I'm going to have to clean up, aren't you? Like, don't make me work. It's kind of like when I play Final Fantasy 14 and sometime as a healer and I'm having a really good dungeon run and there'll be this one DPS for some reason does not know how to get out of an AoE and they force me to actually have to heal them instead of like having, because I'm just DPSing because everybody's doing their job. I don't actually have to heal, so I can just DPS and have fun. Not that healing's not fun, but I'm just not having to do my job. I could be a bit lazy. And then this DPS just keeps getting hurt. And I'm like, why you make me work? Why you gotta make me do my job? I was enjoyed not doing my job and being here. I think you guys can all understand. It's like when you go to work, it's just an easy day, but then you got that buddy of yours, or not even a buddy, but that person on the crew that isn't pulling their weight, and they force you to do more work or to actually have to get up and do stuff, and you're just like, man, this was an easy day. It was right before my day off. I was taking it real easy until your butt showed up and just screwed it all up. I'm kind of feeling that's how he sees the Primarchs. Like, it was pretty good until you guys showed up and became a problem. That's the feeling I'm getting.
Are fully capable of wiping out literally any force put against them, and in a sense are the final representation of the golden age of terror. However, they are forced to stand in silent and blind service to the Emperor and to the ill of the Imperium. And they, for 10,000 years, have stood vigil over the Imperium and have watched its rise and fall with the inability to do anything about it. While they do go out and fight some battles here and there, at the end of the day, the vastness of the Imperium means that the closest advisors to the Emperor himself are powerless to make any change. But goddamn, can they kill a Space Marine? For 100 years, I stood my watch amidst the somber shadows of the Sanctum Imperialis. I was still as a statue, but always ready, always attuned to dangers unseen. Days, months, years passed by in a frenzied blur beyond those walls, yet within, little moved and nothing changed. For 100 years, I did not but wait, yet had any threat appeared, I would have struck it down in a heartbeat. For 100 years, I stood my watch, and as it ends, I tell you this: patience is a weapon.
See, now this is what I'm talking about. This sounds like a very, like, you have a person who's trained for one thing and they're really good at it, but they're being denied to do it. That's an open for corruption, because the frustration and the annoyance that must be backbuilding, even though patience is a weapon, as it says, patience eventually runs out. It might take them a very, very long time, but I will not be surprised if you guys hit the comments up and tell me a Custode snaps and can't take it anymore and just is like, I'm going to go beat some butt. This standing around watching all this crap happen when I know I have the power to do something and I can't. No, screw it. And I'm pretty sure the Custodes probably beat him down for that one. And it was like, no, you shouldn't have done that. Your job was to defend the Emperor. You were a traitor because you didn't. Now you die. I'm sure that's probably what happened. If not, I could see this happening. Because you're keeping the most powerful guys standing around like statues guarding, well, I mean the most important guy. It makes sense. But at the same time, yeah, the frustration has to be unmeasurable. I would say unbearable, but they're bearing it because patience is a weapon. But that is definitely the Custodes are interesting. Between the ego of I'm definitely better than you because I was built to be your executioner, to standing around and just playing, like, I don't know, Uno. Yep. That is, though, to see them in action would probably be very interesting. I'm still not understanding why their science is supposed to be on magic. He hasn't still said it yet. But, considering they can take down a Space Marine and a Chaos Marine with ease like it's nothing, and they were built to take down Primarchs, I wonder how they would fare against things stronger. I guess then they would start breaking a sweat. And has any of these fought a Primarch before? Let me know, because I'm assuming no, or maybe, and the Primarch won, maybe? I just don't see a Primarch losing, but then again, that might be just me wanting to downplay Custodes due to the fact that, you know, I might be having a Primarch on my head, and, you know, my other Primarch too, who got taken out. I just want to believe they're stronger.
Of course, a threat directly to Terra itself would appear to be something foolish. It's in the deepest parts of Imperial space and is one of the most defended bastions in the galaxy. You'd truly have to be foolhardy or insane to think that you can take on Terra itself. However, one faction certainly got close. In the dark ages of the stars and in a river of misery, there is one faction having a crackin' old time. The galaxy sees them as savages, yet they have already figured out the questions of the universe. Their numbers are uncountable, their technology incomprehensible, and yet their violence is so very green. I am, of course,
Oh.
talking about the
Orcs? Okay.
The Orks are the pinnacle of creation. For them, the great struggle is won. They have evolved a society which knows no stress or angst.
Oh.
Who are we to judge them? We Eldar who have failed, or the humans on the road to ruin in their turn? And why? Because we saw answers to questions that an Orc wouldn't even bother to ask. We see a culture that is strong and despise it as crude. During the war in heaven, the Old Ones were doing their best to spawn as many combatants to their cause as possible by seeding the galaxy in a specialized sense. The Eldar were made to be a precise and tactical species to fight off the Catan and the Necrons. But
Okay.
another prominent species was made by them as well. The Krork were warriors clad in ornate armor with more dangerous weaponry. However, things changed, and these warriors changed, and the Krork are no more. They are now known as the boys, the lads, the mates, the orcs. An orc in
Okay.
40k looks like an orc in most other fantasy media. Hulking, warlike monstrosities with big teeth and worse attitudes. However, unlike the more Tolkien-esque forms of these creatures, the devastating nature of the orcs is in their biology. Unlike most species in the galaxy, the orcs are actually a type of fungus. This fungus itself comes in various forms.
They're a
The
fungus?
small goblin-like Gretchen and Snotlings are a part of this fungal ecosystem as well, and also the squigs, which can be used for basically anything. But regardless of what is a part of the fungal system, all of them are born from spores that land on the ground and grow. As they travel around the galaxy, they drop spores literally everywhere, and then an orc dies, and they drop tons of fungal spores that allows for their numbers to be replenished over a period of time.
Okay, the orcs sound an awful lot like how in certain stories and things goblins work. Except they're not fungi and they don't you know, burst out and repopulate. But it sounds like they can swarm real easily. Like their numbers can swell insanely quick. And out of everything, spore orcs were not on my bingo card. Definitely was nowhere in my brain that they would be like that. And just, it's like planting a weed and then it pops and then there's more weeds. I'm wrapping my brain around that, and also the metal music background was really distracting me. It took a lot to focus on what he was saying and not just try to listen to the music and just want to like rock out. But okay, fungi orcs. I wonder if they're fun guys. Ha! I'm right. Bad joke. I know.
Because of this, orcs are not only extremely prominent across the galaxy, but they are exceptionally resilient due to their growing cycle. Even if one orc lands on a planet, it will be nearly impossible to get rid of all of the orc presence unless the planet itself is completely destroyed. And even then, they might find a way to survive. Due to their fungal nature, orcs don't really stop growing. And the more long-lived an orc is, the bigger they get. And the more an orc fights, the bigger they get.
Oh.
Of course, since they're constantly getting into scraps, an orc's lifespan isn't necessarily that long, so the bigger orcs are harder to find. Though alongside this, however, they are a tribe-based species that is comprised of war bands, and the biggest and the strongest orc leads the war band known as the war boss. At the bottom end of the orc tribal system are the Gretchens and the Snotlings. These members act as
Goblins.
the servants and slaves of the orcs, and sometimes their actual ammunition, despite being...
What? Okay, so the big ones are the little ones. Honestly, that sounds funny. I imagine that these in games have to be so fun to play. They sound fun to play. Because of just how they work already. Like their fungal nature, that they got this tier system. The longer you're around, the bigger and badder you get. that would be just a fun game to play. Like, you start out as a little one and you keep working and seeing if you can get into a big one. If there's a game like that, let me know, because I might be interested in that. That sounds fun.
A bit smarter and more cunning than their bigger brethren, because in orc culture, the biggest is the boss. The smallest gets picked on and thrown around.
Well, my short self will be picked on. For those who are not aware, yes, I am very short in real life. I am 5'1". When I say I'm little, I is little. So now you might see why I want to play a game where if you start out really tiny and you work really hard, you get to be big. Because it's the only chance I'm going to get to experience life as a tall person.
Beyond the warbands and the tribes, orcs also belong to a specific clan. Tribes constantly shatter and rebuild, but the clans do not. They are, in a sense, a psychological state of being for any given orc, and gives an orc their specific character and traits. And to make things easier, these clans are also color-coded. So that's very easy to tell what orc does what. Though there are many clans out there, 6 of them are the most prominent and well-known. The Bad Moons are essentially the merchants and have a lot of money because their currency is teeth, and they grow teeth faster than any others. The Blood Axes are the stealth units, and by stealth, it means like slightly more quiet than the others, and they have a love for LARPing as humies. Death Skulls are the scavengers, and the Goths are the close combat specialists. And on the two ends of the spectrum, we also have the tech-savvy Evil Sons, and the more traditionalist and tribal Snakebites. Another major facet of orcs is their religious beliefs. They believe in 2 gods, Gork and Mork. Gork is cunningly brutal, and Mork is brutally cunning. The difference between them, according to orcs, is that Mork hits you when you aren't looking, and Gork hits you when you are. There's a lot of confusion as to which one is which, and this results in a lot of infighting. In other species, this would be considered a sort of religious conflict, but for the orcs, it's just another excuse to fight. I have a quote here, but I don't really do a good orc voice.
Okay.
So I'm going to get my co-host of That's Ridiculous to read this one, and I'll try to lip sync it.
Oh, he's more cunning in a grot and more killy than a dread. The boys that follow me can't be beat. On Pisana, we jumped the Marine boys, and our boss pose was covered in the helmets we took from the dead-ends. We burned their port and killed their bosses and left nothing but ruins behind. I'm Warlord Gezgul Mac Urukdraka, and I speak with the word of the gods. We's gonna stomp the universe flat and kill anything what fights back. We's gonna do this 'cause we're orcs, and we was made to fight and win.
This fucking sounds terrible. Fighting is the biggest aspect of orc culture, and it's essentially their life's purpose. They are genetically hardwired to get into battles and scraps with enemies that can feel pain. The more they fight, the bigger they get. This, combined with them getting bigger over time, means that some of the biggest and baddest orcs of all time have been notably gigantic. The Beast, as he was known, was the size of an imperial knight. If an orc runs out of other enemies to fight, they will immediately start infighting to scratch the battle itch. For example, in The Warp, a planet exists where a band of orcs are in a constant state of war and battle, and have been for an improbably long amount of time, strictly because how much Korn enjoys himself watching it. For some,
so orcs is like Korn's like guilty pleasure TV. Is just like, what's on? Orc fighting, yay! Gets popcorn, just starts eating it. Woohoo! I'm voting for the green one. They're both green. They're all green. Yes, I know. Go green, guys. It reminds me of a little bit of the Lord of the Ring movies, where I believe it was their orcs too. All this talk of orcs, my brain's getting so mixed up. But there was a part where there was 2 parts actually. One was when they were hungry, they ate one of their own because food, and the other one was they were very quick to fight themselves because they live for the fight. Like, you throw a punch and that's a a beautiful greeting, probably, to them. Like, woohoo, he greeted me. Why? He punched me in the face. So, orcs are interesting, and I'm still giggling at the idea of Korn just sitting back in some type of lazy boy, feet propped up, bag of popcorn, just enjoying his favorite show of orc on orc violence. Yep, that's what I'm picturing in my head.
Being trapped in a perpetual war planet for all eternity would be a fate worse than death, but to the boys, this is heaven. In the event of a particularly big
it's like the
battle,
Valhalla.
a massive amount of tribes and war bands will unite under what is known as the War. The concept of a war covers a few bases. The first is the group aspect of the massive green tidal wave of orcs fighting for the same cause, the cause being the second base. But the most prominent aspect of the war is the psychic aspect of it. Remember how the old ones made the Eldar and all the Eldar are psychic? Well, the orcs are too, kinda, but just not as much. Only a little bit of it. And they often don't know how to use it and frankly don't care. But a huge gathering of orcs generates a psychic field that allows orcs to be more organized, dangerous, and dedicated to the war-based cause. However, the true extent of the psychic energy and its usage is relatively unknown, but that doesn't matter considering the outcome 90% of the time. In a similar sense, their ragtag technology and weaponry is also a mystery to most who encounter it purely because of that raw energy. The technology the orcs use seem to be held together with duct tape and plastic glue, and crude doesn't even begin to describe it. Their guns seem to have an inordinate amount of ammunition and firepower, and they are seemingly able to put things together on the fly in the middle of combat. The Imperium is of the mind that the orcs' weapons and machinery only work due to their innate psychic ability, but realistically, orc gear hardly works in the first place. Weapons blow up in a Bugs Bunny-esque manner all the time, and their war buggies can collapse in the middle of battle. Just because it works a handful of times does not mean it's an effective weapon. But this doesn't stop the orcs and their green tide. To really understand the power of the Wa energy, orcs can operate purely off of belief. Now,
okay, so they have patchwork, basically, armor, weaponry, that basically cartoon style can break down. I'm starting to understand now why I see so many animations of orcs. And again, I'm still thinking this would make one heck of a fun video game to play. Like, that just sounds fun. They sound fun. They sound like, outside of all the seriousness in Warhammer, and I'm not saying orcs can't be serious, but it's like, this is a place where you can just sit back and just fight. And just let loose and have fun as an orc. And I could see why some people pick orcs. If you are one of those people, let me know what you like about them, what really kind of drew you to them. You know, was there anything particular about them that got your attention? I would love to know, because for me, it's definitely, I like how they get stronger the bigger, or the longer they've been, like they get bigger and stronger. I also like that they have, like he said, cartoony style breakdowns. And no, I mean, not all their breakdowns are that way, but it could be seen that way. I like the almost lightheartedness, and I also like how fighty they are. Just punch to the face is probably a hello to them. But yeah, if you are an orc person who collects units and makes, you know, orc units and groups or tribes, whatever they're called, I've now forgot. Let me know and share some orc knowledge. This is actually pretty interesting. I hate to say it, they're a little bit more interesting than the Custodes. I'm sorry to the Custode players, but the orcs just sound fun. They remind me of like old school Warcraft. I think they would be like, when you have them finished, they'd be like, job's done. That kind of, I just hear that in my head.
A misconception is that orcs believe something is real and it happens.
Oh.
But that isn't true, because that's just one orc. However, there's never one orc. There's
Right.
normally a few billion orcs together, and if
Billion.
they all believe something is true, the warp will tend to respond with a positive green light. Sometimes. Do the red ones go faster? Well, with enough orcs, yeah. How does an orc buggy with an engine block that's just a boulder with vroom vroom written in chalk work? Who cares? Orcs breathing on a ship with a hull breach? Go ahead. An orc went back in time to kill a version of himself so he could have two of his favorite weapons. It is shenanigans. Because of their actions and aesthetic, the orcs tend to be presented in a comic relief sense in a lot of media, particularly the media from their perspective. They are bumbling and loud and goofy British football hooligans, and they say silly things and act in silly ways. But to the citizens of the Imperium, the orcs are far from funny. They are violent and irrational creatures that take humans for punching bags, slaves, or ultimately dinner. They have no moral compass and are violent and brutal killers that know nothing else. They are genetically designed to be a violent species that was capable of beating back the Necrons and the Catan. And if the orcs were ever able to unify under one banner, they would be utterly unstoppable.
Oh.
However, due to their aggressive nature, their organizational skills are non-existent, and they tend to just beat each other up for the fun of it. All that exists in the mind of an orc is fighting, and nothing else. If they wipe out their enemies, they will inevitably wipe themselves out as well. They are a brutal Ouroboros doomed to an endless war cycle, but to an orc, why does it matter? If they fight and they win, they win. If they fight and they die, it was a good fight. Now that the Xenos armies are growing in strength and more are threatening the safety of the Imperium, they need to bring new methods in order to handle what they are currently facing. The Emperor is on the Golden Throne. Half the Space Marines are traitor, and they are beset from enemies within and without. So now the Lords on Terra must prepare for anything possible, and sometimes the impossible. For that, they take to the stars to explore and expand. They recruit assassins for priority eliminations. They train a galactic police force and a secret police to root out any and all heresy. The lesser known, yet most feared,
Okay, Agents of the Imperium. I try to let that song play out a little bit. I know some people like to hear the music there, but I think this is where we're definitely going to stop for this video. The orcs are cool. The comic relief British sounding football players, I believe he said, that just sounds all great. I get that it's not, if you're in that universe, it's like, no, they're really scary. But they just sound too fun. I cannot wait until you guys start telling me some orc lore. I'm gonna have to start making a list of the groups that really get my attention. The mechanicum is of course interesting. I like my blood angels and my night lords. There's so much, and I'm not even sure what to say. I've just kind of a bit overloaded, I think. But we've covered a lot today. We covered the Dark Mechanicum, the Custodes, and the Orks. That's a lot. And I might rewatch this again just to see if I might have missed anything, because sometimes I don't always let things click into my head. But I want to say, if you watched up to this point, you are awesome and rock. You know it. This is just, I didn't think it could get better. I was wrong. I'm falling more and more down this rabbit hole of 40k, and it's a fun fall. I was always a fan of Alice in Wonderland, and this rabbit hole is great. But it is that point in the video where I have to say the magic words, which is, if you like that video, leave a like and subscribe. I'm going to take a break, and yeah, I'm going to sit here and think about the orcs have stole the show a bit for me, so I'm probably going to sit here and just start comprehending a lot about those guys. But yeah, you guys, I hope you're all doing well, and please continue to leave comments. I appreciate it. But until next time, You all take care. Bye-bye.